You know that moment when someone speaks with absolute certainty, explaining something confidently, even when the details are clearly wrong. And what's strange isn't the mistake. It's the confidence. There's a kind of certainty some people carry that feels almost unshakable. They don't hesitate. They don't second-guess themselves. They rarely pause to wonder if they might be missing something. Most people notice this pattern at some point in their lives. Maybe in a conversation with a coworker. Maybe during a debate online. Maybe even in someone close to them. And often, the reaction is confusion. How can someone feel so certain without questioning themselves at all? Society tends to label this quickly. People call it arrogance, ego, ignorance. But those labels don't really explain what's happening beneath the surface, because there's actually a psychological pattern behind it. And it's more common than most people realize. Psychologists began studying this phenomenon years ago when they noticed something curious. The people who knew the least about a subject were often the most confident in their understanding of it. At first, it seemed like a contradiction, but the explanation turned out to be surprisingly simple. The same knowledge required to perform a skill is also the knowledge required to recognize how complex that skill really is. In other words, when someone only understands the surface of something, the mind doesn't yet see how much remains hidden underneath. And because those blind spots are invisible to the person experiencing them, the brain fills that gap with certainty. Not deliberately, not maliciously, just naturally. Neuroscience suggests that our brains are constantly trying to simplify the world. The mind prefers clear answers and stable beliefs because uncertainty requires energy. It forces the brain to keep searching, questioning, updating. Confidence, even misplaced confidence, can feel safer to the nervous system. But life experience tends to change this. The more someone learns about a subject, the more layers they begin to see. Complexity appears where things once felt simple. Questions multiply where answers once seemed obvious. And something interesting happens in that process. Confidence often softens. Not because intelligence makes people unsure of themselves, but because awareness reveals how much there still is to understand. Which is why people who think deeply about things sometimes appear quieter in conversations. Their minds are busy considering possibilities that others may not even see yet. None of this makes one type of person better than another. Human minds develop in different ways. Some people move through the world guided by certainty. Others move through it guided by curiosity. Both patterns exist for a reason. But if you've ever found yourself pausing before speaking, wondering if you might be missing something, questioning your own conclusions more than others seem to, that experience usually means something very simple. Your mind has started to notice the depth beneath the surface. And once someone begins seeing the world that way, it's very hard to go back. There are a few other quiet patterns like this in the way the mind works. And once you start recognizing them, you begin to understand people and yourself in a completely different way.